Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Dogman, Factor, Legend. Well, today I've got 7 encounters to share with you to help you make your mind up. Before we get into these encounters, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, PayPal, and merch to help this channel continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fan fiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that don't fit on this channel. If that's anything that you're into, follow that link below and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. And with that, guys, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with these encounters, shall we? Today's first Dogman encounter. One morning I made my way towards a metal wire fence which somehow, I don't know why, had been bent on both its top and bottom, inwards towards the center of the fence. I was about to duck under it when I heard the distinct sound of sniffing, so I turned to see what it was. Standing on the other side of the stream was a 7 to 8 foot tall creature sniffing the air. Its head was turned slightly. The first thought that entered my mind was, oh my God, dogmen are real. It stood on 2 powerfully built muscular legs which ended in enormous paws. It had no tail, it had a massive chest as well as extremely muscular arms and hands. The hands seemed to have the same kind of pads as a paw has, but they were arranged differently. It had a wolf-like head and tall, pointed ears. The eyes glowed red. The ears were proportioned to the head. It had a snout or muzzle. It kept sniffing the air as it stepped over a tree trunk like it was nothing. I would have had to physically climb it to get over it. I thought it was coming after me. It stopped and seemed to be breathing or panting. But there was this deep rumble that accompanied it. I decided to get out of there before it did see me and ducked under the fence. I ran to my bike, which was parked off the road, and pedaled home. Today's second Dogman encounter. My mother states when she was about 12 years old, she was lying on the couch watching television. That's when she noticed a scary dog face looking at her through a low-pane window. The window was either on a door or by a door. I'm unclear on this fact. In any event, the head, she said, must have been about 2 to 2.5 feet above the ground. She covered her face in fright with a pillow. After a minute or so, she snuck a peek, figuring she must be imagining things. She saw it was gone and felt a little better. Then she noticed it was now looking through another higher window. Its head was about 4 to 4.5 feet above the ground. According to her recollection, there was nothing outside that window for a dog to stand on. At that point, she just ran to another room in terror. She doesn't really recall what happened after that. She describes the animal as being dark gray with glowing red eyes, seemingly panting or baring its teeth. She didn't see the body, but had the impression that it was thin. Today's third Dogman encounter. My friends and I decided to meet up in the woods. We all got there and were doing what 10-year-old North Carolina country boys do. And one of my friends said, "Y'all see that?" We all looked up. What we saw was some wolf, human-looking thing. The thing stood like a man, but had fur and a long tail like a wolf or a dog. It was back behind a tree. It would sway to the left and then go behind the tree, then sway to the right, then back behind the same tree. It did this for a while. Then it would vanish and appear at another tree and do the same thing over and over. About the time we boys were about to make a break for my house because it was the nearest one, the thing appeared at the bottom of a tree we were in. It stood there for a few seconds, and then it was gone. After that, we never saw the thing again, and we never told any other friends or family about it. But I think it has come back because the other day my dogs were going crazy, so I walked outside to see who or what was there. I live in the country still, and I believe I saw it in the tree line of my property doing the weird swaying thing as before. Today's fourth Dogman encounter. In East Hanover, New Jersey in 2008, three 18-year-olds were walking home from a restaurant one night after a meal that did not include any alcohol. Wrote Mike, one of the three, in an issue of the excellent magazine Weird New Jersey. Mike said they were passing a church parking lot when they saw what at first looked like a deer lying down. From where they stood, they could see it had huge, pointed ears on top of its head. The group moved closer to see if it was hurt. They had come in within about 45 feet of it, said Mike, when suddenly this dark-colored animal leapt up. They realized it was not a deer as it ran from them on its hind legs. It had a dog-like head, he said, and ran with its forelimbs at its side in the way that reminded him of an ape. The creature disappeared into some nearby trees as the teens ran, screaming in the opposite direction. Today's fifth Dogman encounter. I was deer hunting and I kept hearing something rustling around my stand, kind of in a circle. I kept getting glimpses of something through the scrub. I thought it was a hog or a feral dog. Then I got a horrible stench like a skunk mixed with wet dog and something dead. What I saw next I'll never forget. The biggest dog I had ever seen stepped out of the brush. It was on all fours and quickly went back in. I saw this thing for only a split second, but knew what I saw. I wasted no time after that thinking this thing had moved on and got out of there. I don't hunt anymore and am constantly aware of things around me since I live in the woods. What I saw, no man could stop if they wanted to. Today's sixth Dogman encounter. We were driving for about 5 minutes on this road until something shot from the woods and in front of our car. My brother hit the brakes, but we were 99.9% sure that he actually did hit this animal. So we were both a bit panicked at this point. I told him to drive, but he was curious as to what we hit. So like always, we did what he wanted and got out of the car to see what it was that we thought we ran over. There was nothing, no blood, no dent, nothing. We looked all around the car, still finding no damage. Then we saw it again. This time it stood in the middle of the road. Most people say they see glimpses or little hints that could be something. We saw it clearly. This thing was standing on 2 feet, haunched, pointed ears, long arms, and pointed nails. It had a very weird tail, like a rat. I could tell it had fur, and its eyes were glowing from our headlights. Needless to say, we got in the car as fast as possible. It didn't attack us, it simply stood there watching. Even as we drove by, we could still see it standing there in a distance. Today's seventh and final Dogman encounter. A gentleman was nearing Ophir Road in his 2006 Chevy Impala at a speed of around 50 to 55 miles an hour when some kind of light-furred creature in a nearby field caught his eye. I had a real good look at it, he wrote. Scared me right awake. It was standing and walking on 2 legs and looked right at me. I slowed down and the creature dropped to all fours and began to take giant leaps across this field. I could see its muscles and long fur bouncing as the creature covered half the field in about 12 seconds. I got a good glimpse of a long wolf-like muzzle when the animal slowed and looked back at me to see where I was. it sped up again and headed towards the National Forest area. I have a coworker who didn't laugh at all because his father seen the similar thing near Oroville Ranch in the 90s. His father was out one night checking the ranch 10-foot galvanized steel fence line because something had been bothering the cattle. As he walked around, he came face to face with a 6-foot-tall creature whose eyes glowed red. His father fired a few rounds from his shotgun at it and it ran away. 7 Dogman encounters. Fact or legend? You decide. 7 people have claimed to see Dogman right there for you. There's been a lot more than 7. I've done a lot more than 7, so we all know that they're real. And if you're on the fence still, I've got a lot more encounters to share with you. I hope you guys enjoyed these, and I want to thank everybody for all of their support. And with that, guys, I bid you farewell.